Good morning, Dan and Amy. Coming to you live from RJW Group. It's a transportation and logistics company, and we're happy to be here in Lockport, Illinois. This is part of our AM 560 Signature Bank Business Tour.
It's really an amazing facility. My head was spinning when he took us back in the warehouse and all those boxes.
500,000 square feet of warehouse space.
Yeah. It's not a small room to clean.
No, and it's a burgeoning business, so bully for them. We'll talk to the president of the company at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour. But I wanted to make mention of this because people should really check this out. Mm-hmm. We were talking about Pulitzer Prize winners yesterday after Peggy Noonan was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for commentary, that announcement. I'll tell you who deserves a Pulitzer Prize for his photojournalism over the last year is this guy named Chris Arnade. He is a former numbers geek, Wall Street operator who has spent the last year plus now on the road chronicling small-town America, talking to a lot of Trump supporters, trying to understand what's happening from their perspective through their eyes. He just did an incredible piece on Cairo, Illinois, a small town that's basically hollowed out. And this is the story of rural America, small-town America in many areas. This is the story of Hillbilly Elegy, J.D. Vance's surprise bestseller last year. And it's just Arnade, Arnade is his name. You should check it out. Chris Arnade, his photojournalism is excellent, and his piece on Cairo, Illinois, and Southern Illinois this past week is really something. And it speaks to, Trump's support to a large extent. It's been cartoonishly caricatured by the media to just be small town, rural America, lower middle income whites. That's not the sum total of it, clearly. He wouldn't have won 60% of the states if that was it. But it's a part of it. And what's happening in small town America is an important discussion point. And it's, frankly, the basis on which Estes won the special election in Kansas to replace Mike Pompeo yesterday, which was a race held by the Republican, and so that was important, but a lot closer than a lot of people expected. Also, I want to just direct your attention to this as part of this conversation. NakedCapitalism.com has a piece about a company called Red Tire that's working with small businesses in small towns who have a difficult time extending the business if they don't have a family member that wants to take it over. They have a difficult time selling it and getting market value because of the lack of competitive opportunities and interested parties. If you run a dental practice, for example, in small town Kansas, and this is actually the example they use. And what they do is they essentially act as a business broker in these places to make sure that businesses get maximum value for their business, but also that you find a buyer. So these important businesses in communities like a pharmacist or a dental office that are really important in small towns don't just disappear and negatively impact the local economy and the quality of life there. And it's interesting, there was a new U.S. business new U.S. business creation by county population study as part of this piece in NakedCapitalism.com. Just to underscore the point, between 92 and 96, 32% of new businesses were created in counties with under 100,000 in population. Between 2010 to 2014, that dropped to 19%. 58% of all new business creation in the United States by county population occurs in counties with more than 1 million people. So, this kind of the urban concentration, big cities, big urban centers, to some extent to the exclusion of at least the same level of opportunities there used to be in smaller town, more rural America. Chris Arnade is chronicling it. Stories like Naked Capitalism tells explain some of it, and the pictures tell a really interesting story, and it's part of our politics and part of thinking about economic growth in this country. And I know this is something that Steve Moore is all over as well, as entrepreneurial capitalist and advocate for entrepreneurial capitalism and Heritage Foundation chief economist, Steve Moore joins us now. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. And by the way,
Hey.
I love what you were just saying. By the way, thank you. I thought you were going to say Steve Moore deserved the Pulitzer Prize, but
Yes.
I was actually
Maybe next year.
I was actually so pleased that Peggy got it. Peggy Noonan, for those who don't read Noonan's columns on Saturday in the Wall Street Journal, it is a must-read every Saturday. It's the thing I would most highly recommend. I don't always agree with Peggy, guys, but I always find her columns so insightful. And she got Trump. She got Trump before anybody else did. And I feel like, I got it too. And by the way, everything you were saying is so right, Dan and Amy. And, what's interesting is I experienced the same thing. I went out to these towns, and I could see it. You could see something that was going on in America. There is a cultural divide in this country. I'll tell you one quick story that I think really punctuates what you were just saying, Dan. One event I had to do for Trump back in October, about a month before the election. I flew into Dayton, Ohio, and I drove straight west. And for those of you who know that area, I didn't know that area of the state. It's all rural. It's all little towns, one little Mayberry RFD town after another for literally 45, 50 miles. And we drove all the way, and my driver, these little towns, they didn't even have stoplights, for goodness sakes, and a lot of them didn't even have a McDonald's or Burger King. And we're going through these little towns, one after another, and I finally said to my driver, Joey, Joey, we've been driving for 45 minutes now, and all I saw in front of every other house, Trump, 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 Trump,
Mm-hmm.
Trump, Trump, and it was amazing. I mean, this is Ohio, a battleground state, and the funny part of the story is we finally get, close to where we're going, and we go around, and I said, Joey, no Hillary signs. And sure enough, as soon as I said that, 4 houses down, there's a big blue Hillary sign. And I said, well, never mind, Joey, there's one. And Joey says, hey, Steve, take a closer look at that. We get closer, and it said Hillary for president. The point is that those little towns in America were Trump country. And I did think that one of the turning points in the campaign was when Hillary made the deplorable comment, because what that did was reinforce what a lot of these people in these small towns think that liberal elites think about them, which is that they are, liberal elites in Washington, in New York, in Hollywood, in Silicon Valley believe that they are more morally, culturally, and intellectually superior to these people in small town America. And you know what, guys? They're not.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the interesting thing now. So where are the outliers? Because the Democrat Party in the nation is a super minority party, and even though they came close in Kansas, they still didn't get it done yesterday, and Georgia next week, we'll see. But the Democrat Party super minority.
Let me make one other quick point about this, is that when I would go to a lot of these small towns, because what you said is really important. I mean, this is what's going on in America. When I would go to these small towns, and whether it would be York, Pennsylvania, or Flint, Michigan, or some of these little rural towns, and I say, how's the recovery going? How's the Obama recovery going for you? You know what they do? They go, what recovery? What are you talking about? There's no Obama recovery. We haven't seen more jobs. We haven't seen more factories. We've seen more of them leaving. And so there was, this big disconnect between, what was going on in some of these areas like Washington, D.C., which is booming, and these other areas that didn't see any recovery at all.
Well, but there's still a wall to crack, and we're kind of base camp for it in Chicago, which is in these big urban centers that are seeing most of the new business creation, as I just mentioned, those numbers, and the outlying suburban metropolitan area. Yep. You have a small group of people, maybe a few 100,000 in the city center, and then suburbanites in the collar counties, and you're familiar with Illinois. You're from Illinois, so you know what I'm talking about here. These suburbanites in collar counties that identify with the urban elites in the city center, they are the ones that are the bulwark against the revolution in places like Illinois or California or New York.
Well, you're exactly right about that. And the other thing that I think is interesting about the Democratic Party has some real soul-searching to do. I mean, if this is really going to be a party led by people like Elizabeth Warren and people like that, and Charles Schumer, those are people who do have contempt for small-town America. And the problem is the Democrats pretend like they believe they're the party of the working class, but they've abandoned the working class. I mean, I've told you guys this before, but it's worth repeating. You know, we would go to these coal towns in America. These are working class towns, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the wacko green movement that put all these people out of their jobs. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought you said you cared about working class people, but you care more about, the ocean may rise by 1/4 of an inch over the next 100 years, so every coal miner has to lose their job. I was on CNN the other day against this guy, Jeff Sachs, who's a big liberal economist, and he was talking about how horrible the new Trump regulations are on bringing these coal jobs back. And I said, look, you liberals are so typical. You say you care so much about global warming. I wonder how much you care about it to people who are going to lose their jobs. Weren't these coal miners, but all these liberal professors.
Right. Yeah, right.
But I think things have changed. I mean, when I was growing up, all the Democrats were the working class. Now I think that, especially in the city of Chicago, all the Republicans are the working class, and the rich and the elite are all Democrats. Have you noticed that in other towns too?
Yeah, I have. I mean, that's a little bit of an overgeneralization, but it's turning out to be more and more true. I mean, if you just look at the demographics, I'll give you an example. Green Bay, Wisconsin. I know it's Chicago sometimes we don't like Green Bay, but Green Bay is the prototypical working class American town. It's been like that for 100 years. It was a meatpacker town, and it is working class. And you look at what happened in Green Bay. It's indicative of what happened in the country. In 2012. Mitt Romney won in Green Bay, Wisconsin, by 1%. So it was virtually a toss-up between Obama and Romney. If you look at what happened in 2016, hold on to your hats, guys. This district that had been basically a tie 4 years earlier, it went for Trump by 19 points. And that was the kind of turnaround in this country. And by the way, Steve Bannon, whether you love or hate him, Steve Bannon is really the guy who masterminded this whole thing. He saw it out there. He said, look, we have to be a party of not just conservatives, but populists. These people out here who've been left behind by liberal policies and are feeling the brunt of the negative effects of these. And he was right. And, you saw a massive switch. The Democratic Party today, ladies and gentlemen, is not a party that cares about the working class. It is a party that cares about rich millionaire and billionaire elites.
Well, and then so Trump needs to deliver for those families and those communities, and I worry that part of what he's going to do to try and deliver is to do government directed economic activity, like you see in Illinois, where things are so desperate in central and southern Illinois that they want the prison in their backyard because it means jobs. That's not the way to have a dynamic, robust economy. And so Trump needs to deliver, and he needs to deliver post-haste.
You are absolutely right about that, and he understands that. Bannon certainly understands that. He has got to deliver for those, states like, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and those areas of Illinois that went for him. And he's got to, prove that he can bring economic development back to those places. And by the way, I believe he can. I mean, overturning the Clean Power Plant bill will bring back coal jobs. I mean, it's amazing. I'm writing a column on this right now. All the liberals say, oh, no, these jobs are never coming back. Coal jobs are never coming back. If you looked at I looked at the latest jobs report. This has not been reported yet, so I'm giving you a headline here. Since Trump was elected, the number of mining jobs in the United States has increased by 40,000. 40,000. That's a big, and that didn't just happen by accident. That happened because the coal miners coal companies are like, we're back. We can actually now expand. We're not going to have a president of the United States like Barack Obama who stuck a blade right through our shoulders and killed all these jobs. So it can happen, and it has to happen if Trump is going to get reelected. He's got to deliver for these people. And so when I go to those places now and I ask people, how do you think Donald Trump is doing? They love him. They love him.
All right. He is Steve Moore, Chief Economist for the Heritage Foundation. Steve, always a pleasure. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah. Have a great week, guys. Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy. Use